He's a fairly well-known voice actor across a lot of different genres: video games, original animation, anime. You can hear him in Call of Duty 3, Final Fantasy 13, Legends of the Guardians, God Eater Burst, which, by the way, we're just doing the anime for that. I just got announced yesterday. And in animes like Bleach, Kill la Kill, Naruto, Digimon, where is it? Thank you. Codename Kid Next Door. And both Star Wars, the Clone Wars and Rebels. So both of those. Let's take a look at a little video about some of his work.
You're a freak and Rudy's a freak too. So how you going? Oh, like freaks of a feather. I fill you in and that's how you react? You should pay better attention. You know what I mean? This next part will too.
Yes, we originally. But you developed a certain resistance to darkness. So we did what the Keyblade did and moved down the list.
Did you survive this? The taste of a punch that's got both your power as well as mine behind it.
Before then, I lived in a world. Made me remember how important it is to have faith in people.
Good news, guys. Mercury's fine. Eugene gets a stop sign. I'm okay.
Don't think you won just yet, newbie! I'm about ready to make you dance to the beat of my bike! Let's roll! You like that? All day. My homies love paper and they gon' do what they can to get it. So if you want my time, you gon' have to kill all of us. Work with me here. Make some noise to the crowd. Sit. Get me happy. Now be silly. Show us those pearly whites.
I gotta say, those are nice eating powers. If I stab you in the heart, you'd still recover. Must be all that vampire blood.
So what?
Well, it's because I'm Sheldon, the future king of the digital world. And I'll make sure the ugly furball knows it. Demon Bus? What's that?
How could you not know? The bus that goes through Sentai Zakaway at 6 p.m. sharp is cursed. Anyone riding it disappears, never to return.
Let's get something straight. She's my co-worker.
Oh, please, don't be so dense. You heard her, she respects you. You totally have a shot with her.
God, she was just being polite. Don't go blowing a compliment out of proportion.
Whether you're a fake or you'll die, someday I'll kill you.
Give it up for Diskin! No dog today? No dog. We need his mic up, please. Try that again. Is there a switch? All right. Well, we'll give you the wireless then. No, that was not. There we go. Okay. We're using both wireless. Okay. All right. Hi. So hello. Hi. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you?
Good. How's your con going?
It's been going really well, thank you.
Well, good. I don't normally get to see you. He has this dog, Rex, right?
Yes.
Rex, who he brings to the studio. It's this big, beautiful dog. So I was just surprised. I never see you without him.
I don't think he's allowed in here.
Oh, okay.
So, no.
It's an anime
Freak him
dog.
out too much.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about yourself. All right.
Okay.
So you're one of the few people I know that's actually a native Californian.
Yes.
So where were you born?
I was born in Los Angeles.
Really?
Yeah, I never left. Most people just go, boo, because they're not brother and they're mean. Yeah, no, I was born here, and I went to school here, and I will probably die here.
Well, there you go. Well, at least you're in the right place for the work you do.
Heck yeah.
So how did you? So you went to school in this town, so did you go to high school locally, or homeschooled?
Yeah, no, I went to elementary school at Eagle Rock Elementary. Then I went to Eagle Rock High School, realized I was allergic to mold in the boys' locker room.
Oh my God.
And so I got pulled out of there, and I went, did homeschooling until I was like 16, just blasted through it, and then went to college.
Cool.
And then I realized I don't like college, and I don't want to be a computer programmer, which is what I went to school to do. And I was like, I'm already doing the acting thing. Do I just keep doing that? And it worked out.
So was that the moment you decided, oh, look, I can do this professionally?
Yeah.
Kind of right there?
Sort of. I mean, technically I've been doing it professionally, like, since I was a zygote. So I have this weird situation where my parents are both actors. So when my mom was pregnant with me, her agent said, hey, can we represent your kid when he's born? And they said, sure. So they signed a contract. So I've literally been doing this since the day I was born.
Well, what's the first professional job you remember?
That I remember?
That you remember?
It would have been like a radio commercial when I was like 8. Probably the first one I remember.
So this has been you kind of walked into this business with open eyes, which means you've seen all the bad stuff.
Oh yeah.
So what made you keep going?
Very supportive home. Yeah, like I said, I'm very lucky that both my parents are actors. I never had the stage mom and dad thing where it's like, like, you must succeed. You have to do what I couldn't. Make mommy proud. So I never had to deal with any of that stuff. It was always just like, look, kid, if you make some money, great, it'll go towards your college education where you can get a real job and stop with this BS. And this BS became my real job. And I'm very happy about
Funny how that goes.
Yeah.
Well, Adam, so you've been working a long time, so you've had a number of challenging roles. And what's the most challenging role you've ever had to take on?
Oh, the most challenging one?
Yeah.
It might be Venom from Spectacular Spider-Man, because it was...
Yes, applaud, please.
Because it was vocally destructive.
Really?
We had to do one episode that took us, it was 5 hours of recording, and it was just me. And it was me doing this really, I'll try to do it. And then talking over that, and just doing that already kind of hurts. So it was 5 hours of that, and then for the next week, I sounded like this, and I couldn't speak right. And my parents thought I was like, I caught throat cancer or something horrible. But
voice acting is easy. You just talk, right?
That's it. Yeah, no, you speak. This is all it is. What we're doing right now. It's very simple, and anybody can do it.
From a character standpoint, what's been the most challenging?
It actually might be the one that just premiered yesterday.
Wow.
Excuse me, day before yesterday, Friday, which was Erased. You guys, you don't even know. For the first episode, just one, over the course of 2 4-hour sessions, it took us 7 hours and 10 minutes to record all of my lines for that one episode, because it has to be this super specific sound of guy who doesn't really care about anything, but it can't sound deadpan. Otherwise, you lose the audience. And so we went over every line countless times. It's also an Aniplex dub, so it's me working with Alex Von David, who's very particular. And just getting that perfect take for every single line, and then listening to it, redoing a bunch of stuff, then redoing a bunch of stuff, that was just like... So just getting into that character, because I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky person, and that guy is not. He's very, like my goal is I want to be a professional voice actor and be successful and yay, and he's like, yeah, I tried to be a manga artist and I failed. I hate my life, so yeah. I'm like, I don't feel like that at all ever, so, okay. So getting into that character was really, really hard.
Well, especially with doing over and over and over again, you have to maintain that through take after take after take. Do you have any special technique, or you just hope to God it all comes out right?
I have a lot of faith in the director, and also our engineer is the one who's sort of actually, you were a little bit low in pitch, gotta raise it up, actually, a little too high in pitch, bring it back down. So everybody working together just kind of kept this tight grip on the character to make sure everything was exactly the way it needed to be.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So let's talk about some of the other roles that you've done, because so this is a huge list, but I just want to touch on Bleach.
Okay.
What did you do with Bleach?
In Bleach, I was Sile Opero Grants, who is one of the Espada, and he's basically, I don't want to say he's gay, But he's very flamboyant. Thank you, that's a good
He's
word.
on the spectrum.
And, well, and he also deep throats his sword to transform. So anyway, it's true, he does. I'm sorry.
It's a family show.
Yeah, but like, well, yeah, that's why I got.
So I have one other question about Bleach, because I'm in Bleach as well. Do you understand the show?
You know, at one point I did, and then I went like, I don't know, I think there's vampires now? Oh, it's a filler arc? Oh my god! This, yeah, Bleach is wild.
So one of the, in your list, one of the titles I saw was Hulk.
Yeah.
And the agent of...
Well, I'm Hulk's son.
You're Hulk's son?
Yes, no, I'm not Fred Tatasciore.
No,
I'll never be Fred Tatasciore, no matter how much I want to be.
It's okay. Neither will Fred. No, I'm just kidding. So, what kind of? So you played the son. So did you have to Hulk up?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's really fun because he is stupid. Everything he says, he talks like caveman.
So it was just like, oh man, I don't have to really even read the script. Just act like an idiot. Like perfect.
Yay.
So and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You're also there.
Yeah.
So that's a really wild show.
Yes.
So did you how did you approach that? Because it's kind of hard. It's not this, but it's not that. And
Yeah. JoJo's is just like, well, it's very bizarre. Yeah, it's such a zany show where it has to be like this broad comedy, but it's also really, really violent and action-packed. So it's I don't know. I have no method. That's the best way I can describe it. If I see it and I'm like, okay, I watched the whole thing in Japanese before I actually got to go in. So that was really helpful.
is that something you do regularly?
If I can, yeah. Because I got to see Sugida's performance, and they didn't have me match his voice in terms of his pitch, because he's quite a bit deeper than I am in the show. But I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. It's that like 80s cheese is the best way of putting it, but like in the best possible way, you know? Yeah, like physical.
Yeah, the most violent thing I've ever seen in my life.
Exactly, but it's that kind of thing. So yeah, so it's just like, okay, find that energy level and just kind of stay there, and hope the vocal cords don't crap out on you.
Well, at least there's not a lot of nuance in that one, so... Yeah. So when you're dealing with a character like that, like a nuanced character, I mean, let's talk about Seven Deadly Sins, which is not a wild show. It's very Do you have a particular method you use? I mean, there's, people use Meisner and all these other methods. Is there a particular approach when you reach a character, now how am I going to get there? Do you have a particular way that you do it?
I mean, usually it starts with the audition, which is basically like, okay, they give you a picture of the character, they'll give you a character description, and what I like to do is when I'm getting into the role is before I actually start recording the audition itself, I will read the character description, and based on whatever it says, I'll start making adjustments to the voice until I'm actually where I feel it's right, and then go into the lines. So if it's like, there's script here. Oh, I can't read those because that's for everybody else.
It's okay, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So if it says something like, Joseph is a really happy-go-lucky guy with a British accent, so you start doing the British accent, but he has a tragic backstory. Everybody in his life was killed. So it's like you start changing it, and then eventually you get where, I mean, that's not what happens on the show. I didn't spoil anything, don't worry. Yeah, that's kind of what I do to just get into the character itself, and then once I'm in the booth, I don't know. I think I might have multiple personality disorder of some sort. So, not that that's actually a real thing, but it's just sort of like, it'll be like, yeah, jokey man, character. That's a jokey man. So I don't know. I wish I could say I have like a...
Well, no, I think that's important because it's that relaxing into the character and just kind of being instead of doing. We make acting so hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think that's important that you can do that. Is that something that you do across most characters, or that's just the way you go?
That's just the way I roll.
That's great. Yeah. Okay. So who out here wants to be a voice actor? We got a lot of people out here want to do this. So what does a new actor who's starting out, what's the most important thing they should focus on, especially if they want to do voice acting professionally?
Well, let's see. This is a weird one, because I don't think anybody ever talks about this. Ask yourself what kind of person you are, because this is not for everybody, but everybody thinks they can do it. It's this weird thing where it's sort of like, oh, you're just talking to a microphone and people give you money, that's all it is. But the reality is, prepare yourself for a good solid decade of struggling in the gutter, where nobody will hire you, nobody will give you a chance. And if you're one of those guys who just does not have the intestinal fortitude to stick through that, you're gonna crap out and you're just gonna give up. And the worst thing you could possibly do would be like, move to a place like Los Angeles where everything is really freaking expensive. And then realize, oh, I'm not making any money doing this. I'm bussing tables, I'm killing myself. This isn't for me, and then you wind up having to move back home. That's like the worst thing you can do. So figure out, do you have what it takes to work through the tough times? That's really what you've got to do first and foremost.
Yeah, it's been said that an overnight success in Hollywood is about 10 years, so...
Yeah, that is true.
Cool. So, if is there a specific kind of training? Do you recommend like college or just taking vocational type of workshops or just basic act? What in terms of training?
I would say there's basically two types of, it's specifically voiceover classes that you should look for. When you're trying to learn how to just act behind the microphone, take lessons from just actors out there. I think like Crispin Freeman, for instance, teaches courses over Skype. So even if you don't live in Los Angeles, you can get some one-on-one experience. But then when you feel like you're really starting to go places and you feel like, okay, now I've got a ball on just how to approach the mic, how to actually act, that's when you want to start taking classes from like, the Adventures in Voice Acting, that kind of thing, where it's like you get to go into the booth and have a professional voice director hear you. And that way you can actually say like, hey, this is what I've been working on. You get further instruction, but you also get in front of people who actually, well, I don't want to say it, but who actually matter, who basically can actually decide, hey, can I get your contact information? Can I put you out there? Can I recommend you to other people? And that's really how you can actually get in. But in terms of just lessons, if you can't take voice lessons, theater, that's a really good one because... Theater. Yeah, it's practically the same thing when you really think about it. It's, hey, you have to be a little bit over the top because there's people way in the back who can't see you and they can't hear you, so you have to be able to project. You have to be able to stand on stage and perform, and if you can do all that stuff, then it's easy. You just kind of pull it back a little bit in the booth and you'll be fine.
Or if you're a camera actor, build it up. Because
exactly.
I have the most trouble with camera actors, actually.
Guys on camera actors have some of the hardest times in the voiceover booth because they're so used to using all of this in this really subtle way. And then they get on mic, they go, nobody can understand what they're saying. Their performance is super flat, and everybody's like, what is this? Is this guy bad? And then it's like they have to realize, oh, I have to change the way I approach the character. Everything has to come out in just the voice. And so that's, yeah, so it's rough. But I'd say theater, if you can't do voiceover lessons, it's a good way.